Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:13 in the afternoon on a nice, warm, sunny Sunday afternoon. It's June 13th, 2021. I want to do my usual: take a look at the S&P's close, take a look at Nasdaq's close. I might feel a little adventurous and take a look at Russell and Dow, which I don't usually do. They're just not anything that's really interesting to me, but I might take a look at those as well, because the weekly close is done, obviously, and I want to take a look at a few things as I prepare myself for the next week of trading. Before I get into any of this, of course, as you all know, this is all not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You are responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research. I'm just giving my opinion on the market. Your number one priority should be protecting your account. And, you can take all of the information that I'm providing here, again, for educational purposes. But all in all, at the end of the day, you're responsible for your money. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm going to take a look. I'm going to start with SPY. I think that's going to be the best place to start. So let's take a look at SPY here. All right, so we've got a pretty bullish looking chart here. I'm just going to go ahead and trash anything that's on this chart. And I'm looking on the hourly. I just want to point out a couple things. Right here, we had the 1 hour and the 3 hour were both in oversold at the same time. And you can see where that was. That was in the low 400s, almost 410. And we're sitting at 424 right now. The time before that, when you really had all three of them, not all quite down there at the same time, but that was right down here, about 375. We've already had our opportunities for major dip buying. The major dip buying phases, they've already come. So now we're in this slow grind phase where we're trying to grind higher. Now, I'm going to move from an hourly. I'm going to look at a daily here for a moment, because the last 2 days have really looked pretty interesting. All right, you're going to have some bears that are going to be looking at this. They're going to say, okay, well, Thursday's close, that was like a spinning top. That's bearish. And they're going to say, oh, okay, well, this is like, a hanging man. This is bearish. Well, I don't think that the next week, all in all, is going to be bearish. I think the next week is probably going to be, a slow grind up. Now, that doesn't mean that Monday's not going to be red. It's very possible that Monday is a little red. But I tend to believe that we still have just a teeny bit more upside. Now, I'm not a super bull here, all right? But I've been saying since mid-May that we're going to be going back up to new highs. And so far, well, shoot. Look, we closed. This was the best daily close the S&P 500 has ever seen, right? Now, granted, we didn't close above our high, but this is the best daily close that we have had. Let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly, this candle right here from not this past week that just closed, but the week before that, this looks very similar to the daily candle that we currently have on SPY, right? So let me go flip back to the daily. Let's just look at this. You see, got a long wick to the downside. Long wick to the downside, a little candle body and a little wick up above. Go to that weekly. What do we have? Not this past week, but the week before that. Long wick to the downside, little wick right above, and a little candle body. Okay? So, and look at what this week provided. Yes, there was a little bit of downside. We came into demand, and we had a pretty bullish close on the week. So, I'm not super bearish right now. I'm still expecting this week is probably going to be a little bullish. We have Quad Witch, which is on Friday, which is what we all have to be paying attention to. I want to be out of the market before Friday. I want to be in mostly cash. I've got some positions that I'm going to keep open, and if you're on the Discord, you're going to know what those are. But for right now, I think that we do have a little bit more upside, but I'm going to be looking to really shave more off the table. I was closing positions on Thursday, on Friday. I was shaving positions left and right because, we've been watching Google, right? We have made a lot of money on Google, and I've been watching it, and I was shaving some profit when we had that big spike up. I was like, booking profit, booking profit, booking profit on some of our extra positions, not our core position that we're in, but some of our extra positions. I was closing them out, just raking in the profits on those. Same thing with Amazon. We had an overnight play on Amazon that netted between $300 and $400 per set of contracts that we were looking at. And that worked out really well on Thursday into Friday. So all in all, I do think we do have a little bit of slow grind up to new highs. Again, I do think that we are still going to see new highs, mostly because of this daily candle. This daily candle, you're going to have a lot of people that either were shorting the market on Friday afternoon, or you're going to have people on Monday that are going to be getting short positions for next Friday, which is quad witch, and more than likely they're going to be looking for the price to come down here between 420 and 422. I don't think that's going to happen, especially by Friday. I do not think that's going to happen. If anything, I think that SPY, again, we could see a little bit of a pullback, maybe back down to 422, maybe down here to 421 and a quarter. But I do think that there is more upside for this. And again, let's just use our tools. We're going to be taking from this dominant pivot low here to this dominant pivot high, and we've got this pullback here. Okay? We've already gone through the 618, the 100, and the 123.6. I'm on log scale. If I go off to arithmetic scale, same thing, because I'm zoomed in enough that really there's not a huge difference. So for us to come up here to 427 or even to 429, I think that's in the cards. I think that's in the cards. And this, my friends, is where I want to exit the market. When we get up here, and guys, I do believe it is not an if, but a when. When we get up here, I want to move mostly to cash. And again, we could be looking at 1 day, 2 days, 4 days. I do think it's going to be this week. We're going to get a reaction off of that, and I think it's going to be a bearish reaction. But I do think that we have to flush out this week's expiring puts. And let's take a look at the Qs. All right, how do the Qs look in comparison to this? Well, let's just take a look. The Qs, NASDAQ in particular, did not close at new highs, but it's pretty darn close. And I have said over and over and over that NASDAQ had more upside potential than the S&P. That didn't stop me from playing both NASDAQ and the S&P, or in this case, didn't stop me from, from playing spreads on SPY and on Qs. If you're in our Discord server, you know that we played a spread on the Qs and we pulled in a decent amount of profit on that. That expired on Friday. I do personally have another one that expires next Friday that'll take us a little bit higher. And the main reason why I took that is because, again, taking that same measurement here from this dominant pivot low, this dominant pivot high, then we get this pullback. Okay, well, what do we have? What do we have? We've got a 1, 2, 3 hitting this, 4 pullback. We go up for the 5. That's going to take us to about 347. Do we overextend a little bit, go to 350? I mean, that's entirely possible, but very similar. Very similar to my view on the S&P. I do think we're going to have a significant top up here. Right up here in this range, again, it could be 1 day, it could be 2 days, but I do think it is going to be this week, and I think it's going to be, a decent opportunity to at least get out of the market. I think there's going to be a reaction off of that, and I do think it's going to be significantly bearish. The Qs, in my opinion, are what you need to be paying attention to, because they're going to be what's going to either fuel a bullish breakout to the upside or a bearish breakout to the downside for a corrective move. And again, I've said this before, and in case you haven't heard me say this, I'm going to say it again. I'm not calling for a crazy bear market. That is not what I'm advocating for here. I'm simply saying that I think we're going to be entering a phase of 2 to 3, maybe 4 months of bearish correctiveness. It doesn't mean we're going to go all the way back to, like 2000 on the S&P 500. It's nothing like that. I'm thinking that we're going to be going, down, maybe a few hundred points on the S&P, maybe 1,000 points on NASDAQ. But I'm not calling for a crazy correction. Very similar to my view on Bitcoin. So let's talk about Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin going to be doing? I think that Bitcoin is still going to 28,000. I really do. I think Bitcoin's going to make its way to 28,000. Right now, it's got a pretty decent candle trying to engulf yesterday's candle. You can see there's 4 hours and 36 minutes left on the candle for today. Let's take a look at the hourly and see what our waves indicator is talking, what our waves indicator is saying here. You know, a little bit of a bearish candle here on the hourly, but really the last 4 hours prior to this one have been pretty good. Pretty good. And with a decent amount of volume. You can see right here, we had a bullish cross on our 12 hour. And from there, that was at 35, we'll call it 36,000. And right now we're up $1,300 per coin on that. So not a bad move. It was a pretty darn bullish move. You know, you've got a little bit of a double bottom right here. I'm saying that for our friend Cardinal. It looks like we've got a double bottom, you know, after a little bit of a correction. And then we've got a nice little move up. Now, do I think that Bitcoin is going to move a little bit higher? I mean, it's entirely possible that it does. It is entirely possible that it does, because I can tell you, a lot of people were looking at Bitcoin up here at the top as like, you know, shoulder, head, shoulder, down. And then from, let's see here, let me move out a little bit further. Okay, so again, right here is shoulder, head, shoulder, down, right? And what a lot of people are saying is, let me move to a 4 hour and show this to you guys. What a lot of people are saying now is we move from one big head and shoulders to a bigger head and shoulders. But this doesn't look super like, it doesn't look like a shoulder formation. Just take a look at this. This right here, you guys, is very important. And I don't know if you could see that, but let me just zoom in here, because this trend line, let me see if I can make this a little clearer. This trend line is of extreme importance on a 4 hour time frame. You can see we've got resistance, lower high, lower high, lower high, and we're working on making a lower high. But one day, we're going to break through. We're going to break through. There's a decent chance, and we're talking short term here, decent chance that what we had down here, let me illustrate this, what we had down here was a trap. Very possible that was a trap, okay? But what we have to do, we have to push up above, retest, and then we can move higher. But how much higher are we going to go? Well, we've got a bearish slope here. This is a bearish slope. Can we expand above that? Absolutely. We certainly can. We can push up above that. And let's just see. Let me clean that off. And then let's also remove this guy and this guy. What we're going to do is we're going to use our fib channel. And we're going to take it based off of this right here. We're going to move it over this way. And then we're going to extend down. We're going to find some confluence for some bottoms here. And I think this is going to be our best spot. We've got a bottom here, makes sense, bottom here, high confluence with this channel. So our expansion, or if we do break up above this, well, our expanded move to the upside is going to be sitting closer to 41,000. And I know I've said this before, like, yes, I do believe that Bitcoin is going to go back down to 28,000, but that doesn't mean that we're going to try and flush out shorts before that happens. So this target up here, this red line, is, I believe, where things are probably going to go if we break through this yellow upper. This yellow upper has been very important. So if we do happen to close, especially a 4 hour candle above that, I do think there's going to be some fuel in the tank to take us up to 41,000 to 41,200. I don't think we go higher than that, at least for the short term. We'll have to wait and see. If we do, then more than likely we're going to be looking at some horizontals, and we're probably going to find ourselves up to 46 to 46.5. But I'm just kind of looking at this as we go across, you know, right here, 43, then up here at 40, 46. So between 43 and 46 are likely where things would go if we do happen to break through that 41,000 level. So that's what I'm looking at on Bitcoin. Alts, you know, a lot of people are asking about alts, and I did have somebody on the Discord ask me, or ask the group today, do I ever take a look at Bitcoin Dominance? I do, I just don't do it very often. I'll go ahead and take a look at it now. Bitcoin Dominance. I believe that Bitcoin is going to make a significant move, and I do think that alts are going to suffer. And again, I mentioned it on there. I do think that Bitcoin Dominance is best analyzed using a weekly time frame on log scale. All right, so from this, you know, we've got a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have a nice corrective move that really this looks like maybe there's a little bit more downside. Maybe Bitcoin does make its way down here back into the 30s again. Once Bitcoin got to that 40% level, which is where we had some additional support here as far as a dominance perspective goes back in May of 2018, had some support there at 40. We didn't really break down below 40 except for in late 2017, 2018, where 40 was really the resistance level, and we were finding ourselves all the way down here at like 35, 36. Possible that this does go a little bit lower. Maybe it comes back down here. But I think that Bitcoin is going to make a bigger move that's going to hurt alts first. So, do I think that like the crazy alt season is here and gone? No, I don't think that the crazy alt season has really come yet. You're going to have alts that are going to appreciate in value versus the US dollar as Bitcoin makes its way to higher prices. And again, once Bitcoin creates that bottom at 28,000, and again, bottom, I'd like to use that in quotation marks. I do think there is going to be a bit of a bottom at 28K before Bitcoin makes a big move. So you're going to see this probably retrace up a little bit, maybe even up to 50 to 52% before we come back down. Now, that may not happen, right? It may take a while. It may take weeks. Heck, it may take a month or two before it does get up there. I mean, at some point it will find itself back up there, but I don't like to do analysis on dominance chart. I like to do analysis based on the actual price. And in this case, I think that the price, as I've mentioned, if it can break through this resistance that we just talked about, it can find itself up to about 41,000. If it breaks 41, well, then we're talking about 43 to 46. But ultimately, I think in the next 2 to 3 months, Bitcoin's going to find a bottom at 28. And from that bottom, I would be interested in going back into long positions, be interested in being more bullish on the asset. But for right now, I'm a little more cautious, especially now since we are, let me pull this back up, since we are at this resistance level and we haven't pushed through it yet. If we can push through it, find some support on that specific trend line, then I think we expand. And that expansion, again, as I mentioned, can take us up to about 41 to 41,200. Okay, in my title of my video, I also said that I wanted to take a look at PUBM, WKHS, and RIDE. So I'm going to take a look at those. So PUBM has turned into one of the most shorted assets on the market. We had a good signal for a buying indicator back here at about 29. Down here again, we had another signal for a buy that was down here about 28. And then we had a nice move up, and we are correcting right now. Okay, we're correcting. I think there's a trade here. So from here, pull back to the 50, and then we had a nice push up. I think we're going to find ourselves back down here at about $30.86. We'll call it $31. I think there's a trade that can be had here. We'll call it right at 31. Give yourself a decent stop loss. Maybe give yourself 3.5% or so. But where I see this going, even if this is just corrective, trend-based pivot extension, dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high, and then we get this pullback. Maybe we get this pullback down here to the 618. Well, then we can take this guy up here to the 100, maybe to the 123.6. Okay, this is going to be a move up to about $46. I would be interested in layering in a little bit. Because this stock is so heavily shorted, I do believe that there probably will be some downside. I do think that there will be some downside. That's going to give confidence to those that are shorting this asset. But ultimately, I think there's a 50% trade here in PUBM. I'm not sure that there's any options available for this, but the trade looks pretty solid. I like 618 pullbacks. I'd take them all day long. And this is going to be one that I'm going to be very interested in, especially if the waves are agreeing with me. But if this finds itself down here at about 31 bucks, I'm going to put my alert right at $31. 31.03 is close enough. If it gets there, I'm going to be looking to take a position, layering in a little bit, maybe layering in all the way down to maybe 29.95 $30, anywhere between 30 and 31. I think is more than likely where I'm going to be layering in. I'm going to set a few bids, and I want to take this guy up to like the $46, $47 level. Do I think it's going to go higher than that? I mean, it could find itself up here at 73 to basically create a double top. I don't think that's in the cards right now. Maybe that's something longer down the road, but I don't like to keep anything longer than a couple weeks unless it is like a runner, like a real runner. So if this just happens to go, 10% a day for the next 2 days or 3 days, then I'll hold on to it. But if it's just slow organic growth, I'm not going to be super interested in holding on to it for a long period of time. But I will tell you that if this does find itself down here at the 618, I do want to take it. Let's take a look at Workhorse. WKHS. Now, we've looked at this in the past, and I remember this right here where this dropped significantly. This looked again like a corrective move to finish. And I do believe that we do have more upside here. So this is my analysis on Workhorse. I believe that we're going to find prices up closer to maybe $100 to $200, somewhere between $100 and $200. Now, Workhorse is at $15 right now. Okay? I'll say that again. Workhorse is at $15 right now. If this does happen to find itself up at about $100, what is that, 7x? Is that right? Is that 600 or 700% from where we're at right now? Even if we bought in right now? Taking this move up to $100? Let's just take it up there and see. Up to that 100 right there. There, 554%. I'm not interested in taking a 54% loss, but I gotta think that there is significant upside potential. Taking something from $15 to $100, I mean, that could potentially be life-changing for some people. Now, I'm not saying to go and mortgage your house. I would never advocate for that. But I would say to take a small position in Workhorse. I do think that there is some potential for that, and I'm sure the options are available on Workhorse. I haven't played, maybe I have played spreads on Workhorse, but I would be looking for some leaps on this guy. Looking for a move up to about $100 over the next year, right? So this is going to take time, but I do think ultimately there is going to be a nice move up, even from here. Obviously there could be a pullback, and there probably will be. Because as I mentioned, we're going to enter maybe 2 or 3 months of correctiveness in the market. So it's going to be hard to make money for a couple months. But if you've got time on your spreads, then you really don't have a whole lot to worry about. Let's take a look at Ride and see how they compare. Okay, this one looks very similar. It did have a little bit of a pullback, more of a pullback compared to Ride. But again, this one right here, I'm on a 4-hour. Let me move to an hourly. We've got a nice potential for a 1-2. We came down here to the 618. We went up here to an extension target, and then we had another pullback. So I could say this could be a potential for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and then another 1 after a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2. Okay, so we could have a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then just finished a 1, 2. So this also is a pretty bullish chart, to be honest. Now, of course, we had what occurred in early 2020 when it was sitting right there around $10. We had a nice move up to 30, so you had a nice 200% that you could have taken on that if you got in right there at the very beginning. Then we had a pullback all the way down here to 675. Well, now it's at 1140, so it's basically gone up. I mean, it has gone up from these lows. It went up 100%, maybe a little more than that. And then we've got this strong pullback, people taking profit. I do believe that we are going to be seeing some more upside for this. How high are we going to go? Well, let's just take a look here. We've got a 1 potential for a 1, 2. Okay, and then we've got this guy right here, which is a 1, 2. So we're going to take a look at both of these, see where upside targets could possibly be. So looks to me like we're going to find prices back up at $30. We're at 1140 right now. Well, there's another almost 200%. Now, I'm saying that this could happen. Nobody is ever going to tell you that this will happen. So this is why I have my disclaimer at the beginning that you have to manage your own account, because I'm not advocating for putting any significant amount of money into any position. You should never over leverage yourself, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But putting little bits and pieces into some higher probability trades, you could do well. You could do well. This guy right here, it's currently $11. Could it come all the way back down to 10, 9, 8? Could it come all the way back down to 6? It could. It could. Now, I don't think it will, but it could definitely have some chop here for a couple weeks before it does make that move up. And I do think it's going to find itself up here at about $30. But ultimately, I actually think it's going to go higher than that. I think that it's very possible that ride comes all the way up here to these levels at about $57 to $59. That is where I would be targeting. And again, I'm talking about longer term positions, which is not usually what I do. I don't usually talk about long-term positions, but in this case, I'm interested in taking a long-term position on Workhorse and on Ride. Here's 400%. Now, these several 100% trades, they don't happen overnight. You have to be patient. Put them into an account that you're not going to be looking at, that you're not going to be tempted to sell. This is something that you're going to want to be in for maybe a year. Okay, so what that means then is you don't want to put in a lot of money. You don't want to put in all of your portfolio because you're just going to be sitting in that for months or a year. But I'm going to be taking a look at Workhorse and Ride for some decent spreads. I don't think PUBM has options available, but if it did, I would be taking some leaps on that. But I'll probably just be taking an equity position in PUBM. And that, my friends, is what's on my mind right now. I guess I'll talk a little bit about TLT because we are in a bonds play right now. And, I'll just point out here, the bonds play that we are in right now is currently yielding a 31% gain. 31% gain on our TLT play. It's okay. Our QQQ play is currently up 50%. Our Google play is currently up 185%. Let's see here. Yeah, so it's hard to get a P&L on our ZN and our ZB plays, but they're up a significant amount as well. But TLT, I was looking at this, and we've been talking about this for a while now. I think that TLT can find itself all the way up here to about 150. About 150. What do we currently have on TLT? Well, we've got some, I think it's 130 and 135. Yeah, we've got some 130 and 135 calls that don't expire until mid-July. The same thing with the spreads that we have on ZB and ZN. We've got some spreads on those that expire closer to the end of July. So they've got plenty of time on there. If ZB can find itself up to 160 or 165, we're going to have significant profit on that trade. And I think that if we do continue this grind up, and I think that we've got a potential for a 1-2, we could be working on wave 3, which means we're going to find ourselves up here to the 1618 to the 175. And that also then means taking a look at ZB, taking a look at this guy, we're going to have more significant upside on ZB, which means looking for this guy to come up here to 167. If it goes up to 167, it's going to hit our targets for our spread. It's going to be doing really, really great. And even if it goes up to 164, I'll be super happy with 164 because that's also going to yield a significant amount of profit as well. All right. I don't see any comments in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video now. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, the deal, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And of course, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.